Alright folks, welcome back to the channel. We have a new camera to talk about today, and that is the Leica M EV1. I had the opportunity to try out this camera with some other creators a couple of weeks ago in Italy upon the request of Leica. And just like my time with that camera, I want to keep this video nice and short and straight to the point. So let's get into it. I want to talk about who I think this camera is for, why I think Leica made it, and my overall thoughts of making some photos with it for a couple of days in a very small town called Alba in Italy. I was out of my element in this type of photography, but it was a cool experience nonetheless, and I'm very grateful for Leica for extending that invitation. I know I'm just as surprised as you are that I was there with some incredibly talented photographers, but nonetheless, I was very, very grateful. Okay, so what is the Leica M EV1? I'm sure you've seen all of the information and the official statements, etc. But in my opinion, it's kind of like a hybrid between the Leica Q3 and the M11. So I've been using the Q3 for a few years as my main photo camera, and I recently got the M11 at the beginning of this year. And it's definitely a very interesting release. It's not something that I'm going to buy, mainly because of its price. It is $8,995. Which is incredibly high, in my opinion. It's a really good camera, and it is Leica quality. So there is some expectation there, but when you look at it against the Q3 and the M11, the price just doesn't make sense. But that's a personal thing for me. If you're somebody who wants this camera, then go ahead and buy it. It's your own money. I'm not going to judge anyone who buys this camera. Absolutely not. It's a great camera, and it definitely serves a purpose in the lineup of cameras that Leica offers. So some specifications: it's a 60 megapixel sensor. It has a viewfinder just like on the Q3. It is the same LCD panel as the Q3, but it's not the same viewfinder. They had to make some minor adjustments to fit it in a slightly different body. We have focus assists. So this camera is perfect for somebody who wants to use ultra wide lenses, 21mm and wider, or somebody who wants to use telephoto lenses, because just like any mirrorless camera, no matter what focal length lens you put on, it's going to show that exact image, frame, and scene, just like you would when you're looking at the back of a screen on an M10 or an M11 and you're using different focal lengths. So you're getting that screen experience in the viewfinder. Quick intermission from the rambling on this camera just to talk about today's video sponsor. This video is sponsored by Huckberry. If you're unfamiliar with Huckberry, they are the one-stop shop for men's clothing. They have a huge full catalog right now to get you ready for these colder months. The biggest thing for me is this is quality clothing. These aren't items that you're gonna wear for one season and they're gonna end up getting worn out. These are things that are going to last you for many years to come. So I've got a link in the description where you can check out everything that they have to offer. Honestly, it's been probably the best decision for my wardrobe. This is one of my absolute favorite chore coats. It's from Flint & Tinder. I've got it in blue and in this green. If you saw my last video, I talked about green and how I love it. So yeah, check out what they have to offer. This is just my go-to for where I'm at the house or I'm outside. It's the perfect jacket. All right, back to the camera. Now there's one thing I wanted to talk about that I loved what they did on the EV1. I'm gonna come a little closer. I've got to adjust my focus here. Okay, so I'm not sure if we can see here. Let me bring my light around. There we go. All right, if you're familiar with the M series, we've got this lever right here. Now what this does on my M11 is it adjusts my frame lines. So depending on what lens you have, when you mount it to an M camera, it will change that lever. It just kind of moved a little bit, but this is a 35, so it stays in this position because that's the 35 frame line. Bottom line is, on the M EV1, obviously there's no rangefinder. This little lever, if you're unfamiliar, it changes the frame lines that we see in the rangefinder. It's paired to the lens, but you can manually override it if you want to. Now on the M EV1, it is a new function button. So it allows you quick access to the focus magnifications or focus assists with that viewfinder. And it's really intuitive because, you know, if you're taking a photo like this, you know, it's just a quick thumb press and you can access focus peaking, you can access, hold on, there we go. Yeah, so, you know, if you're taking a photo like this, it's just a quick thumb press away and you can access focus peaking, focus magnification. It makes that whole experience a lot more intuitive and a lot more enjoyable. This is a perfect camera for somebody who wears glasses or their vision is not what it used to be. There is a diopter on it, just like on the Q3, so you can adjust it depending on your prescription and hopefully make that experience a lot more enjoyable. And that's my biggest takeaway with this camera. We're at this kind of plateau of specifications where any camera, and I talk about this all the time, any camera can make great photos. They're a tool to help us with our creative vision. And what it comes down to is the experience. So that's why I'm kind of 50-50 in terms of my feelings with its price. Yes, it is expensive, but if I was to get value out of this camera, let's say I wore glasses or I hadn't already bought an M11 at the beginning of this year, then maybe I would be looking at buying this camera. But in my time using it in Italy, it was definitely enjoyable. The results were as I expected. I wasn't expecting, anything bad to come out of this camera. It's a sensor a similar sensor to one we're used to with the Q3, the M11, the Sony a7R5. But my biggest takeaway was this time using this camera, Leica had some lenses that we could try out as well. So I figured I'd go the extreme route and I'll try out the Noctilux 50mm 0.095. And I was very surprised with my retention rate shooting wide open with that EVF. And that's mainly because I'm used to an EVF and I'm still learning the rangefinder. But if you've been using a rangefinder for many years, then you may not have a problem focusing at 0.095 or more realistically, 1.4. That's probably more of a typical f-stop that people are going to be shooting at. Not everyone is picking up that Noctilux lens, but I just wanted to go to the extreme and see how that experience was. And I had a high retention rate. That was my biggest takeaway. It made using my 21mm a lot more enjoyable because I wasn't having to kind of guess where the edges of my frame were going to be when I use my M11. So in my opinion, it's definitely got a place on the market and I expect a lot of people will be picking up this camera. You could just be a diehard Leica fan and you just want to add it to your collection, or you've been looking at getting an M11 but the rangefinder just turns you off. Or you've been looking at getting an M11 but the rangefinder just puts you off and is a little overwhelming. Then this is possibly the answer for you. A couple of more specifications about the M EV1. It is about $800 or so cheaper than the M11P, but it is not a true P camera. It doesn't have 256 gigabytes of storage. It does have content credentials, but it has 64 gig internal storage, just like the standard M11, which was a little disappointing. And that kind of ties in with my feelings with its price. But there are a lot of things contributing to that. The tariffs are partly to blame. Unfortunately, that's kind of the climate we're in right now with cameras, but I still think it could have been priced cheaper, especially because the Q3 is cheaper new, even though I think that's expensive, but you can buy them used for cheaper. You can buy an M11 used for cheaper, but that's where we're at. Once again, if you want to spend your money, go ahead and do it. I'm not going to judge you for that. But all in all, I think it's great. It offers a lot more flexibility and opens up a plethora of lenses that obviously you could use on the M, but you just get a better experience with that EVF. If you have any questions that I wasn't able to talk about in this video, then obviously drop a comment down below or reach out to me on Instagram. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.